An old man took in a puppy, delighting in its playful antics. But as the years passed, the once cute pup grew into a monstrous and vicious beast. Now it prowls the land, devouring any poor soul unlucky enough to cross its path. In 1506, Yunjong led a band of rebels to overthrow the king and seize power. The new ruler crushed all who resisted, establishing complete dominion over the populace. During this tumultuous time, a plague swept through the kingdom. Yunjong commanded his army to dispose of all infected people. Ordinary peasants were herded into a deep pit and tragically perished. A woman begged the soldiers to spare her own daughter, only to be cut down by an arrow. The girl tried desperately to revive her as the final echoes of the condemned men faded away. A lone soldier descended into the pit and took the girl with him. 10 years later, rumors spread throughout the kingdom. Monsters had appeared in the mountains where the infected were killed, now preying upon the people. These events are causing great panic, and this could threaten the king's authority. Therefore, he is forced to take drastic measures. Deep in the forest, Yun, Sung, and his adopted daughter Min hunt for food, but come up empty-handed. They can't even catch fish. Min pleads with her father again to leave their remote village for the palace, where they'd have better food. Yun refuses as always, and instead sends her to gather vegetables for soup. Suddenly an intruder steps into their yard, peering through the house's windows. Min snatches up her bow, aims it squarely at his back, and demands to know who he is. The man, a servant named Her, explains he's looking for someone who used to be the king's guard. Min is confused. Her father is just a simple farmer. Right then, Sung bursts out the door and startled. Min accidentally fires an arrow. He barely dodges it, his eyes meeting Min's. A spark of something flickers between them. Yun comes out to see what the commotion is, and Her tells him King Cheongjong sent him. Min is shocked. Her father and Sung were the king's guards. Yun, however, refuses to return, firmly telling Her to leave them be. But before Her can go, the king himself arrives at their home, and they all bow in respect. As the conversation unfolds, the king remembers. Years ago, Yun stood in the royal court with a little girl in his arms, proving to all she was free from illness. Yun spoke out against the senseless slaying of the ruler's own citizens over a plague that no longer existed. For his defiance, the king's guards drew their swords to deal with the man. Only Sung came forward to defend his friend. Ultimately, the king stayed their hands and instead banished Yun, Sung, and the child from the capital. Now the desperate king calls on Yun once more. A plague stalks the land, spreading sickness and death. The king returns Yun's sword, pleading for his former guard to fight for the kingdom again. He describes a monstrous evil causing the plague that only Yun can defeat. Hearing this, Yun decides to return to the capital. Meanwhile, holy women perform rituals by the river, hoping to cleanse the land. But during their ceremony, they are attacked and the waters run red with blood. The tragedy is witnessed by a little girl who manages to escape. Upon arriving in Hanyang, the Yun family was shocked by the sight that greeted them. The once prosperous capital was now in ruins, its inhabitants struggling to survive. They met with Her and were led to a new crime scene. Near the river, the bodies of shamans and traders were scattered by the wind, some missing limbs. Yun carefully examined the bodies of the victims and noticed traces of rope on their ankles. Determined to solve the mystery, he questioned the little witness. The girl mentioned seeing something strange, but her voice betrayed no fear. Suspecting that the girl was not telling the whole truth, Yun and Sung followed her. They watched as a hooded man handed her a bag and hurriedly rode away on horseback. Sung chased after him, but the man managed to escape. Yun caught up with the girl at a house where she was distributing food to small children, using the same bag that the hooded man had given her. Confronted by Yun, the girl confessed to lying about what happened at the river in exchange for the food. Rumors of the murderous monster have terrified the local population. People are now afraid to leave their homes, increasing hunger and malnutrition. Although the girl hasn't seen the beast in person, she believes it exists. Meanwhile, another attack occurs in the mountains. Yun and Sun discover knife marks and strange blisters on the victims' bodies. The men notice that one of the bodies is pinned to the branch of a tall tree. something no human could have done. After examining the bodies, Yun reports to the king. He claims that all these men have been attacked by a man. Someone deliberately used knives to simulate a monster attack. However, all the victims were infected by an unknown disease. A mouse test subject, after contact with the bodies, instantly begins getting covered in sores and dies in a matter of hours. Yun is determined to find out who or what is behind the crimes. Zhong orders the formation of a search party led by Yun to hunt down the monster. The authorities are only willing to send 100 of their soldiers on the mission and tell them to recruit volunteers from among the peasants. The guards forcibly take men away to join the search party, leaving only women and children in the capital. Among the volunteers, Yun grudgingly notices his adopted daughter, who has disguised herself as a guard. The captain orders her to remain in the city, but she vehemently refuses to comply, and in the end, persuades him to take her with him. At the sound of the gong, the search party sets out into the mountains and thoroughly sweeps the surroundings. However, apart from some pink slime dripping from tree branches, they are unable to find anything suspicious. Sung suggested finishing the search before darkness fell. Jin disagreed. As army chief, he knew the creature hunted at night. Min anxiously tells her father that she hasn't noticed a single human bone along the way. The creature could be hungry. Yun, however, ignored his daughter's concerns and split the group up to continue searching. Meanwhile, at the palace, the king was talking to his advisor. He was confident they wouldn't find any monster when the search was over. He would inform the people, and trust in the authorities would be restored. The king was convinced that someone was behind these attacks. As night fell, Yun's group encountered their first problems. An elderly volunteer got lost and headed in the opposite direction from the group. Sung, following him, reached a cliff and was horrified to see fresh marks of a red liquid dripping down the rock. Shortly after, the others reached the edge of the cliff. Min found the place eerily familiar. Sung called them over and pointed to an enormous paw print imprinted in the dirt. As the volunteers gathered round, Yun instructed them to continue searching the ravine below. Meanwhile, Jin ordered his soldiers to eliminate the peasant volunteers in their group. After the atrocities were committed, he commanded some men back to the palace. Yun's group witnessed a signal fire lighting up the night sky. Jin signed that the monster had been found. Seconds later, arrows rained down on the volunteers. Jin's soldiers massacred the remaining peasants. Her engaged the guards, saving Min from a villain's sword. In the end, only the 4 friends remained alive, surrounded by dozens of soldiers. Suddenly, an arrow flew at Yun. Sung shielded him, taking the hit to his arm. Though injured, he and Yun were seized by the soldiers. They also captured her and Min, binding them together. With a smug grin, Jin revealed that the monster was a fabrication. All along, the kingdom's forces had systematically slain peasants to maintain an aura of fear. 10 years ago, the people readily believed in the plague, facilitating Zhong's ascent. Recalling those tragic childhood events, Min fights to break free from her restraints. Jin pushes both her and her into the pit, but they manage to survive by clinging to a rope. Furious, Yun vows to destroy those who harmed his daughter, only to be struck on the head. Jin orders the guards to stage a monster attack, eliminating the remaining search party members. Min and Hers dodge the guards' arrows. Suddenly, heavy breathing echoes from below, and a giant clawed paw emerges from the darkness. The creature swiftly scales the cliff, killing an archer. The soldiers confront a grotesque monster covered in sores. Terrified, Jin commands his men to fire, but the creature ignores the arrows. Within seconds, it closes in and tears the soldiers apart. While the monster hunts, Sung and his companion escape their bonds and enter the pit. Miraculously, Min and Her also survive their encounter with the monster. They find themselves surrounded by the monster's victims, their bodies covered in blisters. Yun realizes they must alert the king before the contagious creature reaches the capital, but it retreats to its pit. As they emerge from the cave, the old man who vanished during the search reappears. He advises them to cover themselves in the monster's slime, both to avoid infection and to mask their human scent. Extinguishing all torches, he urges them to remain silent. The blind monster reacts to movement and sound. Descending into the pit, the creature approaches Min. The old man's advice proves effective as the monster is unable to smell them. The monster spits in Min's direction. Finally, the creature falls asleep. The group seizes the opportunity and hides in a cave. At the last moment, the creature senses Min's human scent and lunges after him. They race through a complex cave maze, narrowly avoiding the creature's jaws. With the path ending at a cliff, they have no choice but to leap into the water below. Back at the palace, Jin and a few surviving guards return. He informs Prime Minister Sim that the monster is real. It's revealed that Jin was behind the brutal crimes, fabricating the monster's existence. He manipulated King Zhongjong, exploiting the people's fear. Now that the monster is real, Sim fears an uprising against the government and orders his soldiers to burn the city, suppressing dissent. In the chaos, he plans to usurp the helpless king. Several members of the search party, now covered in ulcers, return to the capital. Panic spreads as people fear infection, and soldiers begin torching homes with the inhabitants still inside. Meanwhile, the old man guides the group through a secret passage, granting them access to the palace. Deep within the castle, they find a chamber filled with enormous cages. The old man reveals the previous Chosun ruler's fascination with monsters, keeping them captive within the castle. As a young man, the old man cared for these beasts, eventually bonding with one in particular. When Zhongjong seized power, he ordered all dangerous monsters destroyed. The old man helped his beloved creature escape through a secret passage. After destroying the infected in the pit, he devoured a plague-infested body, transforming into a ruthless monster. This creature snuck into the secret passage. The old man urged the group to escape, while he lured the monstrous hound into the enclosure with a toy, trapping himself inside. The monster glared at the old man with hatred, then ripped him apart. Easily breaking free of the cage, the beast charged after the others. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister addressed the people, promising to care for the wounded and provide housing for those displaced by the fire. The naive people thanked Sim, believing he would protect them from further disaster. Yun's team finally reached the king's chambers, where the king revealed the truth. The monster was bred within the castle's walls. Sim burst in with armed guards, injuring Zhongjong. The rebels seized power, eliminating the king's protectors. Sim's guards captured Yun's team. The prime minister planned to blame Yun for setting the capital ablaze. With the people's trust in the king shattered, Sim could easily usurp the throne. He ordered the prisoners' execution, but the monster erupted from the basement. Soldiers fought valiantly, but the creature slaughtered them. In the courtyard, Min feigned a terrible itch, distracting the guards. The others played along, stealthily breaking their shackles and overpowering their captors. Zhongjong and Yun also escaped amidst the chaos. Sim dispatched all the kingdom's guards to subdue the monster. Eventually, they restrained the creature with massive ropes. The king's loyal servants found him, and Yun ordered them to take his majesty to safety. Sim commanded the soldiers to drag the monster outside the castle for a public execution to win the crowd's admiration. The beast thrashes violently, breaking free of its shackles. Its red fluid splatters the guards, instantly infecting them with fever and gruesome sores. Sim and several guards flee in terror. Arriving on the scene, the protagonist devise a trap, luring the monster into a basement holding cell. Yun, despite his loved one's protests, volunteers as bait. Meanwhile, desperate locals storm the palace, seeking refuge from the contagion ravaging their homes. Min reveals the palace monster and the truth of Sim's treachery. He set the fire, destroying their lives. Enraged, the people drive Sim back inside with pitchforks, locking the gates and leaving him at the mercy of the monster. Yun fires signal flares, drawing the monster's attention. Sung and Her rig the basement with explosives. Jin, now horribly infected, attacks, seeking vengeance. A brutal battle ensues and Her impales Jin. Refusing to yield, Jin holds Her's sword hostage within his own body. Min rushes in, aiming an arrow at Jin, but he uses Her as a shield. She pleads with Her to remember their first encounter. Jin collapses. Yun bursts into the basement, the monster on his heels. The team lights the fuse and scrambles to escape. Yun notices the flames have died out. He forces his friend out and begs him to protect Min, then locks himself inside with the monster, reigniting the explosives. A massive explosion rocks the castle. Min, realizing her father's sacrifice, descends into despair. Dawn breaks, rain washing over the dead. The monster is defeated. The people open the gates. Min frantically searches the rubble. A breath stirs beneath the wreckage. Yun survives. Villagers help unearth him, and Min rejoices with her adoptive father. The people celebrate their hard-won victory. In the aftermath, Min remains at the palace with her. Her father and his friend return home to simpler lives. On their journey, Sung asks how Yun escaped. He reveals a daring last-minute plan. He secured himself with a rope and rode the blast wave upward.